There we
Yes.
go. Good to go.
Yes. Okay. Good. All right. See if Keynote works for me today. All right. So my name is John Cameron Johnson. If you those who know me or don't know me, what I do is, as you can see on the screen, I'm a growth architect for healthcare innovators. So I own a training company that takes the world's brightest minds in the healthcare space, the a more non-traditional practitioners who are amazing at care, reversing things that are irreversible, doing unbelievable things, and I make it possible for them to find the patients. And ultimately, my goal is to add 1 billion years of vitality to the world. And so, my affecting the 100,000 practitioners over the next 10 years to be able to serve 100 million patients, it's going to take a lot of effort and energy and producing good stuff. So, this training today is going to be product heuristics. And so I have put together something. Once again, if there's any issues with the keynote, we're just going to work through them. And I can teach you this off the riff. So this is something that is really passion for me. I would consider myself a product CEO, not a marketer CEO. So for me, what I've found effective is building something so great that when you do market it, you get outsized returns. I'm going to share with you some crazy returns that my marketing has produced because I focus so heavily on product. Okay. So where we're going to go today, here's a couple things we're going to talk about. So the innovation and inimitability frameworks, the word inimitability, so I can just knock that out, means impossible to copy. Okay. That's what it means. Impossible to copy. For those of you that want to be category of one, this is going to be very powerful. Next is curriculum design. So I'm going to jump into the curriculum design. You're kind of seeing it and witnessing it right now. And I'll jump into the specific slides that I use and why I do it that way. And if we have enough time, we'll get into resource engineering. Well, I'll break down one of actually my most recent resource that I've put together that has taken, and the resource we'll break down will be building the VSLs for my clientele that we called ethos engines. Normally would take 3 to 4 months. Today, as it stands, after this most recent resource, takes anywhere between 24 and 48 hours to be market ready.
Ooh.
So I'm going to break down that and why it's so important to produce very powerful resources. So before we get into that, I'm going to ask you a question because I'm sure all of you guys are thinking, why should you listen to me for this specific topic? Should you even give a damn? Well, let me go and break down some of my stuff, my pedigree, I guess. So over the course of the couple years that I've been doing this, I've built 37,000 plus slides and I've had over 1,500 recorded hours. It's ridiculous. And I've produced a lot of iterations of this product to continue to refine it and refine it and refine it to make it absolutely amazing. I have 15x'd my prices over the 2 years-ish, and I've still never gotten the too expensive objection. Not once. Why? I'm going to share with you why. Next, I actually shared this inside of MDC. This is a specific training for a modern day consultant, but I talked about this process called client taprooting. This particular situation, I spent $661.68 and produced almost $1 million in revenue from 942K. For those who are marketers in the group, that is a 1,423x ROI. Okay. Now, this is why product is. Yeah, it's okay. It works. And the reason being is because my average client sees a $462,000 plus top line increase. Okay, so fair enough. Is that fair enough? Can we just drop in the chat if that's fair enough?
Let's get some action in there, guys. For those joining us live, we're also live streaming in the Facebook group. So I'm going to go keep an eye on that.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to ask you this next question. I always love starting my curriculum. Take some time. I want you to answer this question. How do you build your curriculum right now? How do you structure it? Why do you structure it that way? Why do you create it? Take 30 seconds and we're going to jump into it. So I'm going to put a timer up. Go ahead and write something down. Let's get into it. So let's get into our first chapter, innovation and inimitability models. Okay. So what this is going to be about are the models that I have used to be able to create the curriculum that is easy to go through and allows my clients to get the results. Because I'm sure each and every one of you have bought in products, services, or you've bought in courses that were absolutely garbage. Now, from this, the goal here assumes one major thing. Okay, everything I'm going to teach you is very important. See, the thing that you want here, inimitability, impossible to copy, assumes that you want people to give up when they see what you've built. That's what we want. We want them to look at what you've built and go, holy shit, not a chance. I'm not going to touch that. I concede to second place, and you want to become one of one. Okay. This means that you're not deciding to compete. You're deciding to create. You're deciding that you're not going to be playing their game. You're going to play your own game. Create your own game with your own rules and go where the market's not willing to go. Okay. Now that sounds sexy on, a nice little quote or whatever, but really I want to let you know it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. So I'm going to just give you a fair warning. This shit is hard. Everything I'm going to teach you is hard. Most of you are not going to do it. I promise you. Or most of you will quit in the process because this requires sacrifice. This requires you to sacrifice in the short term so that long term you get outsized returns and dividends. Okay. So if you're here, you're looking for some magic bullet, you're not going to find it here. I'm not going to share anything that's a magic bullet. There's no hack. If that deters you, then you don't deserve to win. I'm just going to keep it real. Okay. So why or how did I take the $661 of ad spend and turn to $942,000 of revenue? Okay. Like I said, in Modern Day Consultant, I did a special training called Client Taprooting where I covered all the very specifics, but I'm going to teach you the high level. I'm going to show you how I did it, and I'm going to share the process that I went through to be able to do that. Okay. So how do we take something from being market sellable, which is okay, means people will buy it, which isn't something that means it actually produces results. People will buy stuff that is not good and then never buy from you again. How do we take it from here, market sellable, to a market fit, and now it's valuable to the market? From this distance to now, how do we take it to inimitable? Inimitable, this distance, it seems like it's an ocean wide. And taking something from just being something that people will buy to something that creates a quadratic growth, like the result I just shared with you before, and get stupid ROI on your ads. This distance between valuable and inimitable is huge. And it requires constant iteration, constant questioning of your beliefs, the things that you're trying. Okay. So let's jump into the three aspects of how to do it. Now, these are three concepts that I think through anytime I'm building something. Okay. First is MB30, which I'm going to get into here shortly. The second is the inimitability flywheel. And then the third is the innovation framework. Okay. So we're going to jump into these three. MB30 is like the philosophy, how I think about it. Inimitability is the model. Flywheel is the model, and the innovation framework is the strategy or framework in which I decide to implement. So let's jump into it. Let's go back. Sorry about that. So let's jump into MB30, the philosophical foundation. So the question is, how do you know if you have product market fit? Okay. Answer in the chat right now. Go ahead and throw it in the chat. How do you know if you have product market fit? Go ahead and write your answer, and I'll wait for a second and let you guys respond real quick. Now, you ask them, maybe, okay, consistent sales, okay. People are asking for it, okay. This is good. I like these answers. Okay, so my definition are these three right here: buy, use, share. Okay, you have someone buying it, that's great. Someone's paying you money, you validated that someone wants it, that's great. But they also got to use it, right? You might have some of the best shit ever, but if it's too fucking complex for someone to go through, they're not going to use it.
Yeah. Seen that, man. Seen that.
Right? They're not going to use it because it does not matter how incredibly genius you are, how much you can pontificate on your curriculum. If no one can actually implement a damn thing that you're doing, it doesn't matter. Your genius stays within that curriculum. It does not expand, and people can't share it. And so what I wanted to do is create a product that is easily shareable. So the distance between use and share is huge because you have to do some concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you in a second. Okay. And so I took this concept out of SaaS. Okay, the concept of MV3O is basically taken out of SaaS. Now, who of you have heard the MVP, minimally viable product? You've heard this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think this is good enough. I think this isn't something that I'm just going to be okay with. Now, it's great to start there, but you shouldn't try to subjugate the market to your bullshit. Okay. So, minimally viable offer, we're going to switch the words around, and now I'm going to take you through the other V's, right? So, first is viable, right? This is where it's not really formed, it's not really targeted. You're probably going to be able to attract multiple types of people because it is a sellable offer, but it's not very good. People will buy it. It's not really good. Now, the magic of the MV3O is it takes that viable and it starts to continue to focus it down. So let's jump into that. So we go from viable to valuable. That's the second V. So it doesn't need to be viable, which means someone will buy it. But valuable is the second piece. It actually provides results. It actually solves a problem. It actually produces an outcome. Now, this is where you're going to start seeing those outcomes to get better and better and better. But this phase, you're going to be able to iterate quickly as long as you keep your offer light, nimble, and agile. The third, which is where you absolutely want to go, is validating. Validating. Why? Well, because if you produce something and you have an idea directionally, you want it to be validated that if I continue to iterate on this process and invest energy, I'm going to get outsized returns. I'm going to continue to make it better and better and better, more streamlined, that this is the right direction. And once I get to the point of market inimitability, no one's going to be able to touch me. This is why you see people that have done things for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I think, if I remember correctly, one of the most recent arenas was talking about Stuart Cathy, Chick-fil-A, right? He's been building chicken sandwiches for 80 years.
Yep.
The same damn chicken sandwich for 80 years. And he's validated that direction that he's going is what's created a market domination. And so our goal here is to be able to command our prices. Okay. So I'm going to jump into really quick my V1 program outline. So where you can start to where I am now, where you're seeing these slides right here, but I'm going to show you what it starts. And this is someone bought this for 10 grand. Let me go and share. I'm going to stop my screen sharing for just a moment. I'm going to jump into it. And I'm going to jump into this thing. This is the thing that someone bought from me. Now, for those of you that maybe say, I don't have a curriculum, this is what was purchased by a woman named Shelby Frost out of Wyoming. Okay. When my first client ever. This is what she bought from me. An outline. An outline. This was version 1. This is really bloated. It was really bad. It came out to, and I know this doesn't show it, but there's 108 modules. It was extremely bloated. And now I'm condensing that down, and it was like 150 hours worth of content. And now I've condensed it down to about 50 hours in total. And it's much more effective. But this is what you can sell as a viable option. And as you get into the deeper details and the more rich product, you can continue to iterate. Okay, so let's jump back into the slides really quick. Let me get back over here. All right. Bam. Here we go. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Good to go.
Good. Okay, cool. I'm going to review, for those who watched were in MDC and saw my client Taprooting, I'm going to share. This is one of my best clients. His name's Rob DiMartino out of Las Vegas. Now, I did talk about how I spent $661 to get him, okay, to buy him as a client. From my experience with him, and he's still with me today as far as a client, almost 2.5 years. Bam. This is his network he's responsible for. This is his network. All these top line referrals at the top, and then some of these are multiple layers deep. Okay, I've been invited to specific groups for doctors, this, that, and the other, and then some of those have turned into sales. And let me show you what has happened. Okay, my products range from $7,000 to $150,000. I actually do have a product that's more expensive than $150,000, but this is what people have bought. Some people have upgraded. Some people bought everything I have. Some people paid multiple times over because they've stayed with me longer, like Rob. Some people said no. Some people said, no, I want you to look at the, it's right next to Rob. You see Chris Z. There's an X next to it. And then there's a Softwave U box. This is a group of doctors, about 1,900 of them. Then I got referred to another person, and then that person referred a person who actually bought. So my product actually was marketed just off the merit itself, because my vision and mission and goals of the product itself was able to get someone to say, hey, listen, I'm not a good fit for it, but let me share someone who is. Okay.
Gold right there.
This came out to $942,000 of revenue. Okay. So how did this happen? Well, I asked Rob, I asked some of these other clientele that have referred or stayed with me, and I came up with a concept that I call the inimitability flywheel. And it starts with effort. Okay. This is the first thing. Effort comes in multiple different ways. It could be how fast you text them back, or how fast you message them back. It could be the amount of effort you put into your products, the design of them, the effort of, I need to continue to do whatever it takes to get you to win. Now, for those of you that are making these, or you don't pay, or I'll work with you until you get the result, don't do that. First of all, don't do that. Why don't you just provide the result and continue to do the things necessary to get the result, and don't stop until they get it. And people can tell when you're relentless. They'll feel it. And so when you put in all this effort and the client starts seeing results, right? Because in my space specifically, I work with innovators, which means there's a high chance of failure, because we're flirting with failure at all times, right? It's innovation. Like, this might work, it might not work. There's plenty of things I've done with my clients where I tell them, hey, we're going to test this thing, and I'm one of the only people on this planet that will go after this with you, but there's a good chance it's not going to work. And when it does, it gets ridiculous returns. When it does it, we got to get back to the drawing board. But they know I'm never going to give up. They know that I'm going to be relentless, not because I tell them, because they see the effort. Once you produce the results, what happens next is you build trust. And so now I'm like, hey, we're going to try this thing. I bring the ideas to them, which I'm going to talk about here shortly. I come up with, hey, I want to test this new piece of software. Or, hey, I want to test this new advertising model that I came up with. Oh, I want to test this new system. Hey, try my thing. I built this new thing. Try it out. And they're like, sure, I trust you emphatically. Have access to their money essentially at any time to say, hey, would you demo this? Would you try this for me and let me know, give me feedback to see if this is valuable? But it took effort. It took results, long times of results, months and months of continuing to show up to get that, which this is the final piece. You can build an amazing product, but if you're not constantly trying to iterate and innovate it, then you're going to get stale. Now, in our marketplace, as we know, for those who are the client that are whether it be consultants or coaches or service providers that are dealing with, let's say, advertising, or let's say you're helping someone get better retention, or you're helping build something, maybe it's AI, whatever it may be. Innovation is going to be this piece. Now, I'm not saying to go away from your core product, but what I'm doing is I'm taking a core product and continuing to make it better and better and better. I'm on my 7th version of my product. Okay. So this is kind of the way you want to think about it, is take the one thing that you're doing, instead of doing 1,000 things. Oh, I built this thing, I got to a certain level, let me go do this other thing. No, you're losing focus. Stay on that core idea and continue to make it so streamlined and so simplified, and get better and better and better, 1% here, 1% there, to the point where it's like you are unbeatable. Okay. And so when you have all these, you have the inimitability flywheel working in your favor. And this is what we want. Every time you go around and round, the innovation leads to new effort, so on and so forth, until you get to where you want to go. Now, the third piece is the innovation framework. Okay. Innovation framework. This is my strategic framework. Let's go ahead and head over to Notion really quick, and I'm going to jump into this process. Now, stop sharing. Let's get out of here. Let me grab Notion. Where's my Notion? Here it is. Okay, let me go full screen on this. All right. Okay. All right. So depending on, what the way I want you to think about it is this: How do you choose? This is the problem you're trying to solve. How do you choose what to build? How do you choose what to innovate? How do you choose what to continue to iterate to improve? And this is essentially the framework that I work through. Okay. Now, it's got 4 parts: create, measure, learn, iterate. Round and round we go. Now, who here has children? Who here has children? Right? Type it in the chat. Perfect. Now I got a 6-year-old boy and a 6-month-old daughter. Okay. The funny thing is, you learned everything this way, from learning how to walk, to use your hands, to motor skills, to learning new words. It's all about creating a new opportunity. Like, hey, let me try this new thing. Let me try to stand up on the couch or on the table next to the table and try to walk. Oh, that didn't work. All right, now I need to recalibrate. What did I learn here? All right, let me try a new way. Or a skill. It's the same thing. This is a framework that works for humans. But I do want to let you know, when it comes to the marketplace that you're going to operate in my case, would it be ads, products, systems, processes, resources? This allows you to stress test this, but it does require thinking. Okay, this is going to be hard. Now, let's jump in. So we start with create. This is kind of the heaviest one. We write the core problem here. What is the core problem you're trying to solve? Taylor Welch, one of my favorite things he said to me when we were on a one-on-one call was, I will never talk to you and have a conversation with you about how to improve something without asking you this first. What problem are we trying to solve?
Yeah.
I love that framework. It's a simple framework. So write the core problem here. And then what is the hypothesis that you're testing? Okay. So in my case, let's say I wanted to create a resource to improve the VSL process in my business, the systems that I've delivered to the clientele. Okay. My hypothesis is that it's too hard. It's too complex. And I'm taking doctors who have no copywriting background and helping them improve their ability to persuade, educate, and demonstrate that they know what the hell they're doing to the prospective patients they would like to attract into their business. But I believe it's too difficult. It takes too much time. And this lag of getting the end result is forcing them to do things they don't want to do, and they ultimately don't get it done. I don't get a lot of throughput. Okay, so that would be like an input. Now, my expectation is if I make it simpler, it's going to allow them to get to market faster and ultimately get results faster, and then keeping them here long term. Retention, LTV, all that fun stuff. What's the evidence and data to back this up? So the in the field, was it just blank there for a second? I got a little pop up.
You're good on our side,
good?
from what I
Okay,
can
cool.
tell. Yeah.
So there's 2 types of data and evidence. There's the anecdotal, in the field, finger touch feel to support this idea. So this is subjective. And the why, the conversations, the feelings. The second piece, and now this is why I say this. You could send out a survey and say, hey, do you guys want this thing? And they go, yeah, this sounds cool. That's awesome. But will they actually buy it? Will they actually use it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to pay with some form of capital. Social capital, meaning share it. They have to have implementation capital, which means they actually have to use the damn thing, or pay for it with money, validating. So be very careful, be very wary of surveys. Okay. Second piece is empirical. This is hard measurement, hard numbers, hard measurements, hard, data that you have, metrics that you have acquired to know that this is something that people want. Okay. Next is objective. Now, what is the main desired outcome for, in my case, patients, but clients, customers, whatever? So an example would be like how to create an indoctrination experience, a personalized indoctrinating experience to create conversions at lower cost while maximizing quality leads and book calls. So in my case, this would be something for the engine process that I was referring to, the Ethos engine process. I want to create something brand new here. I'm not going to share it here because I don't, like I said, I'm still working on it. But it's a process that's going to allow someone to go through a personalized VSL. And I'm not going to share how I'm going to, once it's done, maybe I'll come back and I'll share how I did it. What's the reason for producing this for the business? Do you actually know why you're creating it? Okay. Is it more customers worth more, to improve the customer client experience, increase the enterprise value of the business. These are things that I've learned and picked up from Taylor and others. And this is it. This is your list. And so why are you doing it? So for me, it's like, check it off. Next, what's the main desired outcome for the business? What are you trying to do here? What is the potential compromises for clients and business that you're making? So consider what is something that might go wrong, or what are the things that you're going to have to give up potentially to do this thing, and the opportunities that you're going to create. Okay, implementation. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into the implementation, because that piece I'm going to save for another training. But implementation is key. How do you reverse engineer this process from the first step, or from the last step to the first, and all the sub steps? How do you know what to do? How do you know what to do first? What needs to get done to actually get this, to make this real? And then you got to measure. Okay, timelines. You got to measure what data, lead and lag metrics that you're gonna jump into, right? So lead metrics, for those that are new to that term, means what are the costs, what are the behaviors, what are the things that you're going to measure. And this example would be like, let's say you wanted to create the thing that we're just going to stay on the same topic, the amount of VSLs that my clients are able to make, because I have them make more than one, which is one of the biggest part of the processes and the problems. Is like, they got to make one big one, and then they have all these smaller ones they have to make for their website and for their other collateral. So I can measure, all right, how many they do over what period of time, how many support tickets did we get for it, how many calls that I have to jump on to help them, make it, fine tweak it, and then how long did it take them to get, could be like a lag metric, and then the return on it. Okay, inputs and outputs. Inputs are you on pace? Were you off pace? Did you exceed? Did you do all the necessary things to be able to get the result? And then the output, what was the thing that changed? And then learning. Learning. What was the feedback you got from your clients or customers about this change? How did you receive this feedback? What was the sample size to validate or invalidate your hypothesis? And then you update it. Okay? Do you update your hypothesis from that feedback? Now, we're going to get into iteration here shortly. So I'm going to jump back over to the slides. Give me 1 second. But that process is what's going to take you through what to create, how to create it. Now, depending on how far we get, maybe I'll just share that whole template with you guys, and you guys can go through Notion if you guys have it, and start going through the processes of building new things for your businesses. Okay, let's get back over to slides real quick. All right, bam. Let's jump into it. All right. You guys having fun? You guys having this valuable, not valuable? Because I can go in a completely different direction.
Nah, people are digging it, man. I was just checking over here on the chats, and people are stoked.
Okay. Chapter 2, curriculum design. Curriculum design. Now, I could literally talk about this for hours, but I'm going to condense this down as little as possible. Okay. I am a stickler, as you probably could tell, for aesthetic and for design. That was what I did first before when I was younger. And so one of my main questions is, what makes a successful curriculum? Now, for me, I'm going to give you my opinion. All right. That's where you're listening to me. So that's just how it's going to go. So, first is implementation. Can your people that buy the thing from you actually implement it? Okay. That is huge. Second, compliance. Compliance.
Big one.
Holy shit. Compliance is key. Okay. Are they able to stay? Are they able to use? Are they going to do it? Funny enough, inherently in my marketplace, built into the avatar I work with, these are very academic people. And so they tend to want good grades, right? Because that's what got them to where they're at. And then they had to learn the entrepreneurial piece as they went along. But compliance is key. How do you ensure that? Well, that's going to be accountability. That's going to be making sure that they have automation sent to them. Hey, you should be here. Hey, you should be here. This could be your onboarding experience and asking them, great, hey, if you fall off track, or even saying, when you fall off track, how would you like me to get you back on track? Or, hey, how do you like to be coached? How do you like to be coached? Do they want more direct coaching? Do they want just a gentle reminder? what is the Enneagram type? What is their hexacode type? These are all personality tests to figure out what drives them. Because if you speak to an Enneagram 2 the same way you speak to an Enneagram 8, you're going to lose out on people. Because an Enneagram 8, like I am, you basically have to tell me, I don't think you can do it. You know what? Just fuck it. You're just going to be mediocre. And I'll be like, hold my beer. I'll be right back. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Watch me.
The third is comprehension. Okay. This is indicated, number one, by their ability to implement, but number two, when you have a conversation with them, how much did it stick? Because remember, I'm going through this process and I recognize that only 10, 20% maybe you're going to remember. So then that lends to what do we need to teach them? And what is that 80-20, that 20-80, right? Pareto's distribution on what knowledge they need to get. Because you have to know that 80% of the knowledge is going to go thrown out the door. And how can we make sure that it's easier to comprehend? Okay. Ultimately, what we're looking for is adaptation. Adaptation is what we're trying to achieve. Adapting to a new market environment, adapting to a new way of thinking, adapting to a new action step. Okay. But one of the things you have to consider is that this is hard. And so the way I think through it is this: the actions must be clear. So for those of you that are saying, hey, and I've gotten this from my clients when I onboard them. Hey, I worked with another coach and they said, go do this thing. Example. One of Rob, the guy that I shared earlier, had 13 companies he worked with before me. Consultants, 13, $2.5 million, $2.5 million invested with hardly any return. And some of the names that he shared with me are big names in the space that I operate in. Funny enough, he said, go build a webinar. And he's like, you have a framework, you have guidelines. Yeah. He's like, no, just go build it. Then he went and built it, came back. Well, not like that. That's not how I want you to build it. So he's like, what the fuck? You have a specific mindset. You have the thing that you want me to build, but now I don't know how to build. Like, what the hell? Frustration, right? So the action must be clear. The reason that's important is you have to create guardrails, constraints. Your clients love constraints. They love parameters. They love it because it eats complexity. Now, the problem is with eating complexity, it requires you to think about what are the constraints necessary to be able to produce the outcomes I want by saying, hey, all right, all this shit is hard here. How much of this can I take off their plate so that we can get as close to, in my mind, press button, get result? Some things are not going to be, of course, there's things that are not going to be like that, of course. But how close can we get the action step forward to that? Because ultimately, when you do that, this is why a 2-year-old can operate an iPad, is because the hardware and software engineers that design the UX and UI engineers at Apple have eaten unconscionable complexity.
Yeah.
Unconscionable. If you think about it, your favorite products, ask yourself, your favorite products probably do the same thing for you. Complexity is gone. It's close to push button, get result. Okay. Ultimately, the illusion of control that you create makes outcomes inevitable. And so if you want better outcomes, eat more complexity. If you want people creating a quadratic growth in your business or your marketing, eat more complexity. Eating complexity sucks. It does. I actually made a post about it yesterday on my Facebook. But basically, it's akin to eating shit. Okay, it hurts. It requires you to sit down and wrestle with a problem for long periods of time. Some of the biggest complexity has been eaten. We know those people as scientists. They've been working on their theories, and ultimately, maybe it took them a decade, 2 decades to actually come up with the answer. That's what I'm talking about. Now, my goal isn't for it to last a decade or two, but what I'm saying is that the principle is still the same. But what I'll say is you must have proven expertise to be able to produce curriculum. For those of you that are copycatting, you know who you are. Other people's shit, you're a liar. Because if you haven't done this yourself, you're going to produce bullshit products. You will not be able to eat complexity because you don't understand the nuances. You don't understand the requisite things required to be able to get the end result. And so you won't know where to start. So if you find yourself, well, I don't know where to, you probably don't know your stuff well enough. Okay. Now there are 3 elements to a successful curriculum, just the curriculum itself. It's performance education. That's why I call it performance education. It is content that guides a person from ignorance to awareness, awareness to understanding, understanding to implementation. There's performance that is able to be created from it. Second is focused resources that takes your clients to guardrails that are very difficult to go outside of, controls the outcomes. You create more parameters. And then comprehension gates. So what I consider that is, how do we actually know that they know this, right? How do they know it? So you can use questions, quizzes, tests, things of this nature. Some of the way I like doing it, and same with my clients, is some form of an audit where I'll give them maybe a past piece of material. Maybe I'll give you an example. When we get to the advertising section of my product, which is the last, before they even touch an ad, I have them audit and break down old ads, successful and non-successful, and I have them guess which one was good and which one was bad. So I don't give them the results. I tell them, here's 4 ads. Figure out which one was the best out of this 4. And we see how they're right. Why was this good? How would we improve this? And it forces them to see and understand it. So I'm teaching a doctor who has never ran an ad in their life, never written copy, never made it creative, never. Now they're like, holy shit, this is way simpler than I thought. I said, exactly.
Love that. That's awesome.
That's why you don't need an agency, because I'm teaching you the smoke and mirrors and obfuscation they're putting in your face that now it seems simple. I'm pulling their ass out of the matrix. Okay. So, all right, let's get into philosophy. Okay. Philosophy, multiple layers. I'm going to teach you philosophy. I'm going to teach you the mental frameworks, and then I'm going to teach you the strategy of this process. But the philosophy, this is the way I want you to think about your curriculum. All right. I want you to produce curriculum you love to consume. I want you to produce curriculum that you love to consume. Why? Because if you don't want to build that, then what the fuck are you doing? Why go through all the adulation? Money? Is that it? There's a lot of other things you can do to make money if money is the goal. Okay. So build something, like think about the things in your life that you have the most pride. It probably doesn't even have to be your business. It could be something else. It could be a hobby that you do, be something you put a tremendous amount of effort and you have an extremely high standard. Some would say even crazy. For me, it's, in my case, it's the things that I'm producing. But I want you to build a curriculum that you love to consume. You want to ask yourself, what are your favorite products? And then ask why. Think about it. Is it shoes? Is it clothes? Is it a service you go to that you get done? What is it? What are your favorite products? Ask why. Take a sober analysis of that. Think about your favorite buyer experience. How can you emulate that in your process? How can you make it so unforgettable? I'll give you an example. How can you make it so good that before the person has gotten the result, they share it? How can you make it that good? That's what I'm talking about. This is hard. All these things are hard, I'm sharing with you. It's not easy to do that. But that's my point. If you want to be one of one, this is the price. Now, the goal is to bridge a noob from noob to pro. Okay? Now, this is difficult because what your clients are buying from you is the ability to be a complete novice, a complete amateur, and for you to expedite and almost give them an elevator to becoming successful at the thing that they have no clue. Example, advertising for me is one of the biggest pieces, right? That's why I attract them with. But I tell them, it's not the advertising that's fucked up. It's your business model. So I help them build what I call a 7-star patient offer, because it needs to be incredible, a beyond 5-star experience. And I have them design the experience and I give them exactly what that needs to look like from the point that person sees an ad to the point they come into the office and all the different sub steps that lead to them being a happy patient. Everything from the way they hand them water when they hop in, to the flow inside of the office, who needs to touch who needs to, go, the touch points, the different pieces, all of it, right? So I need to bridge that gap. And the only way I can do it is if I know the nuance. I actually done it. Next, it must condense time, pain, and distance, or all of them at the same time. Right. So it's like, hey, what is from ideation to realization is time. How small can that time be? Right? When you do that, the pain, you might tell them, hey, this is going to be extremely painful for X amount of days. But once that's over, it's done. So just go through this pain for this period of time. And I promise you, for those of you that are working with clientele, if you just tell them up front that it's hard, like, hey, this is the hardest thing, one of the hardest things you're going to do, but it's going to be absolutely worth it. And here's why. They can brace for it.
Mm-hmm.
You let them know this shit's hard. This sucks right here. This little, I call it the malodorous middle.
Mm-hmm.
Any of you seen Shawshank Redemption? Okay.
Yeah.
There is a scene. The main character, his name's Andy Dufresne. He was framed for murder or whatever. He escapes this prison. For him to do so, he had to crawl through about, I think it was a half mile of a sewer pipe full of shit. Yeah. Just tell people that's where you're at.
You're in sewer.
Yeah, that is where you're at.
Yeah.
And once you do that, they're like, okay, I know that this period of time is going to suck ass. I'm just going to go through it and I'll be done. Okay. Next is eat your own cooking. Never serve anything you wouldn't eat. Do not subjugate the market to your bullshit. Do not subjugate the market to some crap that you just pulled out of your ass and say, oh, okay, cool, I want to sell this thing. No. Eat your own cooking. If you wouldn't eat it, don't serve it. Okay?
Yeah,
next.
Love that.
Mental models. Mental models. Now, this is the mental model that I run, that I have to remind myself and what I'm trying to actually do with my clientele. Okay? This is their current knowledge about this thing. Now, this may not be to scale, mind you, but whatever the thing that you sell, whatever the thing that you're offering as information, as coaching, consulting, service, whatever, this is their current knowledge about this thing. And so their curiosity, which is the circumference of this circle, this example, it's pretty small. It is your job. The word educate comes from the etymology of that word is educo. That is the Latin, the Latin word that it comes from, which means to draw out of. So the things that you're educating your clientele on are to help draw out the next level of where they would like to be. To take the raw material and form it, and even though people are malleable, right? What do you want them? What are you trying to do with them? What are they said that they want you to do with them, with their money? They're saying, hey, I'm giving you X dollars, and I would like you to do this with my life. And it's your job to shepherd that relationship and their actions so they can get that goal. Now, if you notice, when they get to the new level of knowledge, they have new levels of curiosity. And so what's going to happen is, as you instill this growth inside of their life, whatever it may be, you'll find that their circumference of ignorance and curiosity grows with it. It's like, holy shit, I didn't know about that. You know, one of my favorite things to tell practitioners, because lots of times they've done, they maybe ran 1-2 ads at a time. Oh, Facebook ads, Instagram ads don't work for me. They don't work. I ran it one time. And I tell them, hey, listen, what if I told you that Meta is one of the world's greatest shuffling machines? I asked them, if you and I were to play cards, and I say, hey, let me take 51 of the 52 cards we're playing with, and I asked you to shuffle a card, what are you gonna do? Well, I can't do it. I'll say that's exactly what Meta says. That's exactly what Facebook and Instagram. We can't do it, so we don't perform well. So I need to give you the raw and rich data, different creatives, different copy, different hooks, different headlines, for you to be able to effectively shuffle. Yes? Yes. Great. Understand that only 1% of the ads you run are going to be effective. Like, oh shit, I didn't know that. There it is. And now they start thinking about, well, how can I create different hooks? And how can I create, I got like all these different ideas. And it's because they have a new level of knowledge. Okay. And so the goal is to grow curiosity, The way you want to think about it is the quality that you're trying to create. The distance between an okay product, good product is large, and good to great is even larger. And you have to do that through eating complexity. Okay. And we did touch on that already. Now, strategy. This is the strategic pieces of this. Now, I have a question for all of you. Did anybody know who this guy is?
Yeah, man.
Sam Ovens. Okay. Sam Ovens is OG of the online space. When I modeled my stuff after him, I was in a financial space where I had no money. Okay. I had just gotten sued for whistleblowing a very large conglomerate. I had no money, and I went to produce this company that I have today. And I said, oh, wow, like who's doing this piece? So I had to watch his free YouTube shit for me to even get an idea. One of them had one of his trainings in it. And so I modeled the entire design by reverse engineering everything that, like his design and all these different things. Okay. So my first product looked like this. Okay. My first product, this is one of the slides from one of the modules I have on my computer. This is version 2 or 3. I can't remember. I got to look back. Okay. Horrible. Look at all the shit on the slide. Now, if I was talking to you, are you going to be like, probably even right now, you're reading it right now. That's probably what you're doing. You're not listening to me. And so one of the things I did is, anybody ever built something and then shared it with your family? Like, hey, look at this thing I made. Let me just show you this cool thing I got. Yeah. Well, I showed it to my mom, and guess what she said? Why are you reading your slides to me?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I don't know how to read? And that was a key breakthrough for me. I was like, oh shit. So what I did is I started studying the tech giants presentations, your Microsofts, your Apples, Microsoft specifically for Xbox, Google. I looked at how their presentations are designed. Of course, Apple, at least in my opinion, makes some of the best presentations. Of course, they have, huge budget, but look at the slides that they produce. Very, very minimal words, 15 words or less on the slides. Okay. So this is a framework I want you to be thinking about. Actually, the way you attack your slides. And even if you looked back through all my other slides that we just gone through, 15 words or less, the only exception is going to be quotes. Okay. It's going to be quotes that you may have more than 15 words. The reason being is because oration versus reading. You should be able to know how to have this conversation without having to read your curriculum. You should be able to, because then you can add rich context. You can add little nuances. You can go off on riffs. And then it makes it seem more authentic, more real, and built from a base of knowledge, not regurgitation. Okay. Big text. You want, as you see, I have some of the previous slides, big text on the screen. I'm trying to draw your attention. Models, visuals, stories, analogies, slide structure. Now, if you look at the slide structure, I'm actually gonna break down some of the slides I use, and we're running out of time. I know we are. Yeah, we're getting close. I'm gonna show you the slides I use. So let me go and back out here, and I'm gonna show you some of the slides, and we're gonna do a quick little list, and then we're gonna jump into the last chapter if we have time. Okay, let me know when you guys can see my screen. Where's it at? There it is. Cool. All right. Cool. Now, here is what you need. If you're going to build slides like the ones if you like the style that I like, okay, you're going to need a title slide. You're going to need to put the module title where they're at. I have obviously different elements, so you're going to need a module slide. I love to have an agenda. Okay, an agenda of where we're going. Now, the reason it looks this way is because I'm going to animate it, and I can literally spend like 30 minutes, an hour on animation alone. So where are we going to go? A recap. Once again, there's reasons why it looks like this. There's animation that have these 3 that looks really, really cool. It's a custom animation I built. Chapter slides. So people know chapter to chapter that aligns with the agenda, right? So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, you put them on there. And then obviously I love nice little visual. The core education slides, 3 points. People learn things in 3s. I paid a brain-centric consultant to teach me how to make my curriculum better, and she taught me people learn things in 3s. Okay. This is where I put some sort of model illustration. As you can see, this is the name of the slide, illustration. I haven't done it today, but I hook up my iPad and I'll literally pull up something on my iPad and run someone through maybe something on my Notability or a document, whatever, and I'll let someone see what I have on my iPad. Emphasis. What do you think we're trying to do here? Emphasize something, right? Blast them with boom, something big on the screen. Pay attention to this thing. This is important enough. I'm going to ask a question here. I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to say something bold and provocative. Something right here to capture your attention is the gradient. This is my business's gradient, our main gradient, our hero gradient. And I'll do the same thing to create a nice little contrast pop of color. Quotes. Okay. I have quotes. People love quotes. This is where I'm going to put a resource. So I'll put the resource on the slide, and I'll break down what is inside of this resource. Numbers. Hey, this is what I'm going to use this for different sections where it's like, let's say, hey, there's 5 things I'm going to cover. I'm going to go through those 5 sections one at a time. Something blank if you just want it completely clean. Definition. If I want to define something. I already have that again. And then these are some copies. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So those are some of the slides that I use to be able to do these presentations. Now, Mike, I know we're running out of time, and I was going to come to the final chapter. What do we got?
Do it, man. Yeah, take it.
Okay, sweet. All right, let me go ahead and jump in. Guys, is this useful for you guys? Are you guys enjoying this?
Yeah, throw in the chat, guys. Let us know where your brain's at. I know I'm digging it, man. This is beautiful stuff. Really beautiful stuff.
Awesome.
And I know we're gonna have a few questions too, so looking forward to that.
Okay. So resource engineering. This right here is, I'm going to take you through one of my resources, one of the ones I'm most proud of, and we're going to jump into it. Let's do it. So let me go ahead and grab it. Let me grab it. Okay. Let's go into it. Beautiful. All right. Let me know when you guys can see it. All right.
Good to go.
Good. All right, cool. So this guide right here is what I call the Ethosphere Engineering Guide. This is a 70-page document. 70. Let me go ahead and break down what's in it. So inside of this is table of contents. These are all clickable. So if I want to go here, it takes me right to that section. I want to go back, it takes me right back to the table of contents. So I have clickable pieces in here. On top of that, what this thing does is it's to speed up the process of something I call the ethosphere. Now, what I mean by that? Well, what I've come to find, what I found out through accident, and now I can see and I understand it, is that attraction is orbital. It is not linear. We want it to be linear by sending people through funnels, but lots of times it's not like that. They'll watch an ad, they'll click on your what you have on the next step, they'll opt in, they'll watch the video, then they'll leave and they'll come back, they'll see another ad, they'll go to your website, they go to you don't know. It's orbital. And so what I wanted to do is, these doctors tend to have really horrible websites. They tend to have very horrible ways of attracting people. So I have to fix not only create a funnel, what is the linearity of acquisition is what I use for that, but lots of times they'll bounce to go to the website. Example, the last 5 calls that I had, 3 of them went to my website and booked through my website, even though they came from my ads because I tracked them through Hyros. This is an example, right? Okay. So inside of this, I'm teaching them. I'm giving them an overview of what am I trying to do here. I want them to build this thing. I want them to build multiple layers. And this is what they have to get done. Here's the checklist of shit they have to do. Like I said, it's not just one VSL I have them build. Look how many they have to build. It's a lot. So I am required to produce a resource that condensed this down. The first client that did this process, her name was Shelby Frost, took her 4 months to build one VSL, and we didn't even launch it because that's how hard it was. And I never taught anyone how to build it. Now, like I said, we're down to a day or 2. So I built this thing, okay? So inside of here is a embedded resource that goes to a Google Doc for them to here's the checklist that you need to get done. And here is the frameworks inside of each video. Oh, and here's examples of each one. So if you need to reference those, here it is. Okay, so this links right to that Google Doc. And then I go through, why are we doing this? Because I'm telling you right now, if your clientele don't know why they're doing the work that they're doing, they're probably not going to do it. So I teach them, what is the utility of each thing? Why are we doing this? Why are you going through all this pain? Okay. Now, part of my process is to build the website videos. And I've created a model for websites that has been effective. And so I walk them through and I share one of the clientele that is effectively doing this, and he can reverse autoimmune disease with a very high effectiveness rate. And we go through building or show them where is it at, so they can go to his website and go, oh, okay, got it. I see where it is. And if I want to reference his site, I can use it. Okay. So I'm walking them through. I don't want them to have any guesswork, is what I'm basically saying. I'm telling what to shoot for as far as time. I'm telling them where it's at on the website. Okay. And then how do we build this damn thing? Okay. How do we build this thing? Well, there's 10 steps inside of the engines that I have them create. And I want them to understand each step so they can effectively do it. Now I have this resource. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to share this screen over here. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about guardrails. Okay. So I'm telling them how to do it, the major objectives and the major pitfalls in building these videos. And then I'm giving them, hey, here's each step. And I'm going to teach you each step block by block. And they have to write inside of here. And here's the filter. Write good fit patients, bad fit patients. Clarify, what are you actually delivering? With your thing, this is what's going to happen. Without your thing, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to tell them the big promise. This is the big promise at the end of the presentation I'm going to give to you. I want you to introduce yourself, the attributes that align with if you are a player for a team that would make this say, hey, you're super attractive. This is the thing I want. I want you on my roster. This is why I want to work with you. And so I take you through block by block, each and every step, and I walk them through. For someone who does not know how to create a VSL, they walk through this process block by block till they get to the end. And then what my team's able to do is take this worksheet and turn it into a keynote or a PowerPoint slideshow for them to record over, eating that complexity. So all they have to do is record. They're taught how to use this resource, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, for time's sake, I'm not going to finish up that, but this is an example of what a resource should look like, so that your clients can easily get to the end goal. And instead of it taking them 4 months, it could take a few days. Okay, cool. That's about it. That's all I got.
Amazing, man. Beautiful, beautiful work. I know, guys, we want to hit some questions. So go ahead and drop questions in the chat. We'll respond to those. We'll take probably 10 or so. John Cameron, beautiful representation of iteration. Just, I can tell how many times you've revisited those same sequences. How can I make this better? How can I eat that complexity? How can I reduce the friction that is taking someone from point A to point B? Having built courses and stuff for years myself, I'm a fan, man. You rock in that space. I can see, and it's just a really beautiful thing to see. Guys, what I would say, that my highlight, if I could, I know everyone's going to have their own input here, but I'd say the biggest takeaway for me on this is the importance of staying focused on your main thing. Like you touched on earlier, they kind of get it to about, oh yeah, it's pretty good. And then they get, sidetracked and they want to go build something else. And they get into this loop of just creating new shit instead of actually saying, well, how can I make this actually better? And going into doing the harder work. Cause I personally think it's harder to do that. It's harder to iterate from point, say 3.0 to 4.0. Doesn't feel as fun and sexy as I'm going to just create something new today and, some new thing out of my brain. That's fun and feels like you're in sandbox mode, but it's a whole different thing to like deconstruct things and find the 1% here and the 2% there, making things better. And everything you've shown us today is a dead fit for doing that properly, man. Just huge congrats on that. That's really well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all hard. Like I said, none of this stuff is it's easy. It's not. And that's the point. You're rewarded for the hard shit. I think Taylor said something on one of the calls a couple months ago. He said, mastering something that is easy, we don't give a shit about, but doing the things that are hard and mastering it, people, really, really care. And they go, holy crap, how did you do that thing? And so ultimately, my goal is for my clients to when they come into my curriculum, they go through the process, they go, how'd you build this thing? Like, how the hell did you do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And that gets me excited because that means they're seeing something they've never seen before, which is why I've been able to have outsized returns on my advertising. And stick like LTV is huge for me. My market is tiny, it's niche. I have no dispendable clients. So the shit needs to work, right? How do you keep shiny objects, and Peter says, how do you keep shiny object syndrome out of your client's mind and keep them focused on those 1% improvements? It's a great question.
It is.
It's a great question. Yeah. So first of all, it's accountability. That's a big piece, right? And the onboarding. So this is back to the onboarding. So let me just show you really quick what I have. And then we will continue to, let me just show you. This is one of our more recent clients. She came on board. Here's an onboarding doc that we created. And this is, who she is. Short term, what she wants. Long term, what she wants. Okay. Now, this is one piece of the process because it's not just one thing, it's multiple things. How does she like to be coached? If she falls behind, expectations, both in, how she's been failed in the past, expectations of the program outside of ROI, miscellaneous stuff, right? Her birthday, all these different things. So this is one piece. So I need to get clear on what does she want long-term? What does she want short-term? So that way I can design a process for her and keep her focused on this. She gets this document. The second piece, Peter, is I teach my clients how to think. I teach them how to think. So I show them how to prioritize. I show them how to work better. Teaching your clients how to think is one of the most important things. What I will say is this. Most people, when they think about the philosophy or principles of their work, is that they think the principles and philosophy is the bottom or the base of the pyramid. I would argue it's the summit. Here's why. Because there are more nuances than there are principles. Think about the shape of a pyramid. There's so many nuances compared to the specific philosophy or principle. 1 degree change will change where you land at the base of the pyramid. This is why your philosophy and why your principles matter so much. And so I teach a top-down method of curriculum. So that way, when tactics fail, they can flee to first principles.
Love that.
Okay.
Powerful analogy.
How many, I'm going to, hopefully I don't say your name incorrectly. I'm big on names. So I think it's Makarand, I believe it is how you say your name. How much time did it take you to perfect this process? It's not perfect yet. I started, my first module took me 3 weeks to make. 3 weeks. Imposter syndrome.
As a tear drops out of his eye.
Yes. Yeah. Because I didn't. First, I've implemented. I've always been a doer, but I've never taught this stuff.
Yeah, teaching's different.
So what I'll say is, I'm on version 7, and version 1 I started. The first slide went up in July of 2020. That was the first slide. So there's however many months that is, however many months that is. The very first slide I made was in July 4th, 2020, to be very, very exact, because that was my first client. He bought when I had nothing, and I was actually down to my last $900. It's incredible.
Amazing.
Will you get this material? Maybe. And there'll be the replay for sure.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that Mike gets what he needs for the Notion doc. By the way, Marcos, it's not John, just to give you, it's John Cameron. Just wanted to correct you there. Thank you, Bijal. I appreciate you. I love you, Bijal. So yeah, any other questions, guys? Any other questions about anything I shared? I'm not seeing, I'm in Zoom right now, so I don't know what he is on Facebook.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay.
No, we're good, man. So let's replay. This replay is going to be posted everywhere for you guys. Make sure you revisit it. And yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. This was fantastic. This is such a huge value add to the community. So thank you for investing the time, effort, and energy that you did into the group here by putting this all together. Your effort definitely does not go unnoticed. So awesome, guys. A perfect example of the power of being inside the memo community. We're going to keep bringing value to you like this ongoing. We're even looking for ways like John Cameron, taught us today, like iteration, making it better, right? Always going back. How can I improve this? How can I eat complexity? All of the takeaways. Give a huge props. Make sure you jump into the Consulting Memo Facebook group, comment on the replay, let people know they blew it by missing it, and make sure that they watch the replay. Anything you want to take us out on Cameron, as we leave?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. This is fun. As you can tell, I get very excited doing this because I'm very, very, very passionate. And actually I would go beyond that. I'm obsessed with building world-class, one-of-one, inimitable products. And I want to help you guys do the same thing because I feel just like Sam Ovens was the standard, my goal is to raise the standard, and not only, for my clients that I serve, but for those that are out there that are building stuff for their markets. And so I'll put something on the replay on this once this gets uploaded, and I will, like I said, I love helping. So if you want me back, you gotta let Mike know. He's the man. Guys. He's the man. He's the gatekeeper. You know what I'm saying? He's got the keys to the kingdom.
No, we're bringing you back. Don't worry about that, man.
I got a lot of stuff. I got so much stuff to share. But anyway,
let's go.
Yeah. So I would just say, eat complexity. It's hard, but this is what I'll say: if you're gonna eat shit, don't nibble. Don't nibble. Okay.
Just get it done.
Just go. And there's going to be times where you feel like you're failing. There's going to be times where you feel like, I just want to give up. This is too hard. Guess what? Every single one of your quote unquote competitors is feeling the same way. Yeah. And so if you can just push through, you'll create something that they're not willing to. True. That's that time investment, that patience, that eating the complexity, you will set yourself as a one-of-one. And then you will never get a price. You will never get this is too expensive. You're going to get like, holy shit, this is expensive, but I want it. That's what you're looking for. Okay.
Nailed it.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. Have a blessed Tuesday, and we'll see you in the channels. See you guys.
See you guys.